Again, if you're just joining us here at the weekly educational webinar, this is Meredith Burkett, your president. Very excited to get started tonight, and we will be doing so in about 30 more seconds. Well, good day and welcome everyone, our Immunotech family, to our weekly educational webinar. We are so excited. This is an incredible time for us to connect with you, to educate you on various topics. As you know, we start out the month, helping new person and new people coming on board to learn about us, where they can get information about Immunotech. And week number 2, which is this webinar, we get an opportunity to meet the big stars in our product line. And one by one, we are going through all of the amazing offerings that we have here at Immunotech so that you can understand better the full spectrum of science-based products that you can offer to your friends and family. And so we're excited to get started. And I can tell you, one of the great things is we do record this call. So when you tune and you listen to it, you think, I know a person that needs to hear this. It is available on demand. It is archived in a series. So anytime that you'd like to brush up, you can always go back and listen to them. So this is the direction to where you can find them. It usually takes us about a day to post them up. And then they are, again, available to you at your convenience to listen and to learn and to empower you with knowledge. We are very, very fortunate on this one time per month call to have with us a rock star, an absolute rock star, not only here at Immunotech, but with us here in the community of scientists, in natural product development, and in the world of medical, looking at people who know the products, who know how to say, I'm going to take a clinical look at product development in natural products and how they can translate to bioavailable products for the human body and to improve the human condition. And so with me today, Dr. Jimmy Gutman, who, again, in his own right, he is an author. He has been with Immunotech for over 20 years, and he actually was one of the people that got to spend time working extremely closely with Dr. Gustav, with Dr. Patricia Kong-Shavin. And these are people that obviously are very important in the story of Immunotech, where we've been for the 40 years of science developing and where we are now into 20 plus years as a successful network marketing company. So I just wanted to introduce Dr. Jimmy Gutman. Are you on the line tonight?
I wouldn't miss this, Meredith. I love these calls.
Excellent. Well, we're so glad to have you with us. And tonight we are talking about ProBio 3 Plus, which is an incredible part of the line. I know a lot of people don't know a lot about it, but as the president here at Immunotech, I am extremely excited about this product. I have been a big fan of probiotics for years and years and years. And so I was really thrilled to meet this product for the first time and to read all about it. And I'm so pleased that we're bringing that to the forefront tonight. Because the reality is, as we kind of think about what are probiotics in the common world, they really correlate very closely with an old adage that we hear over and over and over again, that it says, you are what you eat. Now that phrase, you are what you eat, I know because I've heard you talking about it before. When people say that to you, Dr. Gutman, what is your reaction to that phrase?
Yeah, you're right, Meredith. This is something I really started getting into after attending this big conference on nutritional psychiatry. Yeah, nutritional psychiatry. That's a field that's just starting to get traction. But you can get whole books now on what's called the gut-brain axis. And the bacteria that live in your intestines are actually responsible for the manufacture of neurotransmitters. So your mood, your attention span, even your intelligence is influenced by the type of bacteria, and even more importantly, the proper nutrition that these bacteria are exposed to. So now I think that just as a joke in that community, rather than you are what you eat, they're saying tongue-in-cheek, you are what your bacteria eat. Pretty strange.
you. Well, that's interesting. That kind of has a little Pac-Man image that comes to my mind when you say that. But you know, it's interesting because this is so different than I think than what we're used to thinking about. You know, as we think about the human body and just, you know, in the average layperson's mind, we think, well, you know, yeah, sure, there's my gut, there's my stomach, there's kind of my intestines, and my brain is a whole different piece of it, and my immune system is different yet. And what I hear you saying here is that everything is connected, that there's a very deep connection to gut health and what we're talking about today. So very interested to hear your thoughts and how you're going to kind of really draw the triangle between gut, brain, and immune system here on this call.
Yeah, the immune system, I mean, this is absolutely indivisible from the bacteria that live inside of us. I mean, you and I, Meredith, we're composed of, get this, there are more bacteria living in your gut than there are human cells in your whole body. So, you know, how else can it be?
Well, I think that I don't know. We're interested to find out how else it's going to be. And also, we're interested to find out about that bacteria and how we can utilize our diet and our supplementation to make sure that the good guys are beating out the bad guys. So hopefully we're going to hear a little bit more about that as you get started into the presentation that you have prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Ready to go.
I'm ready to go if you are. Let's get this done. Let's educate our people.
Okay, well, you know, just speaking of bacteria, there's this fabulous microscopy picture of bacteria, and they're actually quite beautiful and many very varied. But you know, when you think about how many bacteria actually living inside of you, there are more bacteria living in your gut than there are people on planet Earth. So fortunately, most of these bacteria are what we call good bacteria. So these good bacteria, they help us digest food, they help out in the immune function, they protect us from infectious disease, and believe it or not, they're actually helping your brain too. You know, we cannot live without these critters in our guts. Now, unfortunately, there's also bad bacteria that live in our intestine. And these bad bacteria, they compete directly with the good bacteria, and they can mess up your digestion. It can cause cramps and diarrhea and constipation and a whole bunch of other problems. And there's a whole list of illnesses that we can associate with bad gut bacterial overgrowth. So let's look at this ongoing war that you mentioned between the good and the bad, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Normally, for most healthy people, our bacteria is about 85% good. And that's good enough to keep a healthy balance. But then we get exposed to things like stress, and you see the numbers shifting a bit, and all kinds of other health challenges, and the bad bacteria is here taking over, and infections like the stomach flu and the use of antibiotics. Anybody out there ever get diarrhea after taking antibiotics? That's because when you take an antibiotic, you're actually killing off the good bacteria, and all sorts of drugs and toxins, and especially not eating well, just eating junk food and not fresh produce. And you see that this balance is now really not healthy at all. This poor young woman is being faded out. So she has an imbalanced ratio between bad bacteria and good bacteria. And this is where probiotics come in, because you want to restore a good balance between the good and the bad. So far, not complicated, but let's just get into a couple things that perhaps a little bit more involved. Most people know what a probiotic is, but let's look at something slightly different. Let's see what a prebiotic is. A prebiotic is simply nutrition or food for the good bacteria to thrive. It's what they need to support themselves and their own health. Okay, finally, one more word, I promise that'll be it. What's a synbiotic? A synbiotic is a combination of a probiotic and a prebiotic. And the key here is that if you take both together, ultimately, you're going to get a better result. Just like when you're seeding your lawn with grass seeds, consider the grass seeds a probiotic. If you add fertilizer, the prebiotic, it's going to make the whole thing more successful. So what you're doing is you got your prebiotic, you got your probiotic, and this is vastly superior. So what do probiotics do? I know I'm speaking to an audience that probably knows many of the benefits. And if you go online or anywhere else, or even to the health food store, you'll see things like these benefits. It acts as a cleanser for toxic waste in your gut. It helps you absorb nutrients, very, very important. It keeps you regular, which is one of the major reasons people use it. It helps out if you're lactose intolerant, because it's actually supplying the bacteria that digests lactose. And it even has an effect of knocking back bacterial growth in your urinary tract. It's a little bit different. But it's kind of what you expected. But if you go on to PubMed, this is the most complete data bank for most of the major medical and scientific journals in the world. And there isn't a day that goes by where I'm not doing research on PubMed. Let's see, when we enter the word probiotic, I mean, there's like 20,000 articles written on the subject. And if we enter probiotic and digestion, there's over 400 papers. Probiotics and constipation, 375. Diarrhea, a whole flood on that. Here it gets more interesting. When you put in the keywords probiotic and the immune system, there's a whopping 3,500 articles. So this is a reflection of its relevance. Even probiotic and the urinary problems, urinary tract infections, etc. There's like almost 400 articles. Now it gets a little bit weird. Probiotics and dentistry? I mean, would you believe like 350 articles? Probiotics are going to help your oral hygiene. I mean, who knows about that? The brain, 500 articles. Here's the scoop again. The bacteria in your gut produces neurotransmitters. Yes. So when we said before, you are what you eat, that becomes even more profound. You not only you are what you eat, but you think what you eat. Probiotics and the word mood, over 1,000 papers. Probiotics and depression, that conference I went to, half the day, half of a full day was spent looking at and presenting papers on the use of probiotics in depression. Probiotics and cognition, here's over 55 articles that probiotics can make you smarter. So this all has to do with what we call the gut-brain axis. We're finding out that you cannot separate gut function from brain function. So yeah, hopefully this has shed some new light. So hang on to your seats, everybody. In a year from now, there's going to be hundreds of more findings about how probiotics are essential for so much of our health. So pay attention and do something. Back to you, Meredith.
Take action. Well, Dr. G, it's really interesting. It is so beneficial for everyone on this call, listening to it, understands. I mean, having a senior medical advisor like yourself, who spends so much time, doing research and reading all the materials and keeping up on all of the new facts and findings that are coming down the pipe, because we know that this field is always changing and it's always shifting. There's new learnings, and I just want to say, on behalf of all of us here at Immunotech, Dr. G, thank you so much, for keeping up on all of this information that's coming, because it's to our benefit. So we appreciate you truly.
You're thanking me for something that I do. It is so much fun, but it's like a full-time job keeping on top of all this new stuff.
Absolutely. I can see why. Well, for the group here and for all of us, thank you again, for that real look. And I'm sure it opened a lot of people's eyes. But what we really need to understand now is, okay, so we have this amazing product. We have this product that we absolutely need that connects everything from our mind, to our gut, to every other bodily function that we have in addition, to our immune system, of course, which is our specialty here at Immunotech. But people really do need to know on this call, Dr. G, from you, there, if I walked into right now Whole Foods, where I did my, shop for my dinner last night, if I go down the probiotic, prebiotic aisle, there are rows and rows of them. And so we really need to know, how does our product, ProBio 3 Plus, how does it stand out from the rest and why?
Well, one thing that's very, very interesting is our probiotic also has, not only is a probiotic, it's a prebiotic, it's a symbiotic, but it has cranberry in it as well. And cranberry is really a fascinating fruit. It has so many qualities. I mean, we can have a whole talk just on cranberry. But besides being absolutely packed with antioxidants, it has a direct role to play in our immune system as well. And one of the things it does, and many people are aware of this, is cleansing the urinary tract. So it actually acts as a natural antibiotic in our urine.
Wow. Well, that's pretty interesting. And so if people are using that product for that purpose, that's one thing. But I think for everyday gut health, it's critical regardless. I mean, these are all really, byproducts of the essential functions of this incredible offering that we have in our lineup. And our product is actually, like you were talking about, the symbiotic relationship rather than just probiotic. And that's new, because if we're watching television right now and we see, of course, pharma has jumped on the prebiotic probiotic bandwagon, and we're seeing it more and more and more. You hear them one and another, but you often don't hear about the combination. And I think that's something that really does set us apart in a unique way as well. Would you say?
Oh, and absolutely, absolutely. And when you're developing a probiotic, there are many factors that you need to keep on top of. The choice of these probiotic strains, the actual count of how many of these bacteria are really alive, how long they stay alive for, and many other features that it takes some homework to put together a good product.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of good ones, and you'll see some even in like the refrigerator section, which of course always poses the question in my mind is, if they're so fragile that they have to put them in the refrigerator, how can we expect them to survive the heat that they have to, be exposed to on their way traveling, from our mouth to our gut and through the intestines? So I think having a product that's also shelf stable is important. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure, Meredith. And it also depends on your selection of the strain. But keep in mind, there was a time that we didn't need probiotics when we were eating fresh food, and they were out in the heat and out in the sun. So getting close to nature.
Mm-hmm. Good. And I think the final question I'll have, we have some questions, of course, from our field, before we, kind of wrap up our time together. But the one that comes to mind, and I hear this all the time is, what, gosh, you've got some amazing products in the line. I only have so much money each month as a customer, as a super user, to spend on a lineup of products, a regimen in my cupboard that I take on a daily basis. Why would you say, if you were to make a plug right now for our product, for ProBio 3 Plus, why do you feel that somebody should try to carve out in their monthly budget enough to be able to afford to take this product on a daily basis?
Well, the 3-second answer is you need it. The 30-second answer is you need it because you just can't get it anymore. And the 3-minute answer, and I'll try and keep it shorter. This whole field of probiotics actually started a long time ago based on the interesting observation that city kids had more allergies than country kids.
Ah, yes.
In other words, so like, why does a city kid get hay fever and a country kid not get hay fever? You'd think it was the other way around because the kids in the country are actually in the country. And
Right.
the reason is because city kids just aren't exposed to the same broad spectrum natural bacteria and even fungi that live in the soil, that live on plants, that live in the hay that these country kids are raking. So these kids, the country kids from birth, are exposed to this. They get this good bacteria naturally just by playing in the dirt, and so their guts, if you do stool cultures from country kids and city kids, the stool is actually remarkably different. It looks different. It weighs differently, and microscopically it's different because they have naturally occurring good bacteria. They have
Mhm.
probiotics, whereas the city kids aren't, and they end up with allergies and other health problems. And so
Mhm.
that is just the beginning. That's just when we're kids. It gets worse as we get older. So
Mhm.
you need these probiotics for your health, for your
Mhm.
immune system, for allergies, for digestion, for your brain. You're not getting them. Go get them now.
Right. Good. Well said. Not to mention the farm kids when they're hungry, go running through their organic vegetable garden and rip a carrot up out of the ground and dust off the dirt and start munching
There
away.
you go.
Not to mention, what they're getting, in their vegetables and in their diet, that now not only do we have the lack of really good vegetable input into our bodies from the garden, but we also have, as you mentioned, the things that war against. I loved your slide talking about stress and illness and infections and antibiotics and toxins and diet. I mean, you really nailed it, Dr. G. So thanks so much. So we have a couple of questions, from the field. And so the first one comes from William Washington, and he is saying, okay, so you're talking about all these different strains. Why is it important?
Well, each strain of bacteria acts slightly different from another. So using different strains allows you to take advantage of the different benefits that each bacteria carries. Our gut is loaded with so many different types of good bacteria. Just taking one strain would really be limiting. So it's both the proper choice of the best strain and using several strains that makes the product more effective. And again, in our probiotic Bio 3 Plus, there are 7 really super quality strains.
Awesome, awesome. It's very comforting to know that. And Sandy in Seattle writes, I started taking probiotics to regulate my stomach, but I've noticed my cat allergies have improved, and I have 2 cats. What's up with that?
Well, you see, that goes back to that whole why farm kids don't have hay fever, because uh, they're affecting their immune system they're in a positive way by the exposure to these gut bacteria. It's always an interesting question in itself why people with allergies to cats have cats, but that's another discussion. Um, but yeah, we can look at the nitty gritty and talk about immune things like Th1, Th2 ratios, but that'll get a little bit heavy for this call. But simply put, it's a reflection of how important these gut bacteria are in modulating the immune responses. And back to that kid, pulling that carrot out of the ground and brushing it off and eating it. You see that the stuff that you get at the supermarket, not only are they like scrubbed really clean, but they're also covered with pesticides and herbicides that are going to kill off any normal bacteria that should be there.
Exactly. And even if they're organic, we have to look at the time between being popped out of that dirt and put in that box and put in that truck and driving across maybe the state, maybe multiple states, getting on the back door, putting them on the shelf, putting them in your bag and taking them home. The majority of everything that once was amazing and good, especially in the area of live good bacteria, healthy bacteria, they're all dead and gone. If you've ever picked up a broccoli in the grocery store and watched it wilt and kind of just droop on the sides, it's like wah wah,
Yeah.
gone
You
for the
know
day.
your stuff, Meredith.
Crispy, lovely vegetables. It's sad. Okay, and our last final question was just all right. So in lining up our regimen of our Immunotech products and trying to figure out when do I take this product, how does it fit in? I think that just judging by conversations that we've had, Dr. G, from Mary in Florida about, well, when is the best time to take ProBio 3 Plus. I know I personally like to pop it in as soon as I get out of bed in the morning. I would not start my day without them. I like it on an empty stomach, but you know, a lot of people feel differently about that. So do you have any thoughts that you would like to close us out with on when is the best place and the best time to take your ProBio 3 Plus?
I think if people follow your advice, Meredith, they'll be just fine.
Good. Or if not, just take it. You said just do it. This is a Nike thing. Just do it. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. I just want to kind of wrap us up. We do have a special going on. Of course, we're aligning very strategically and carefully these calls to match up with our promotions so that as you learn more about them, you can promote more. This is an incredible opportunity to buy 3 bottles, to be able to share one with a friend. And remember, the 20% off that you are getting as a consultant is coming off of your consultant price. So when you take a look at, roughly a $60, value here on 3 bottles, you have to take a look at it and say, wow, I am getting this bottle for literally $20. And so then I can share it. I can sell it to a friend. If I have somebody struggling with, as we talked about, allergies, a number of conditions, you can say, you know what? I am certain that you need gut health. I am certain that this product should not within your daily regimen. So great specials going on. I hope you take advantage of the volume, building your business and sharing this breakthrough product for your family and people that you care about in your circle of influence. So as we wrap it up, just as a reminder, this call is recorded if you joined us late. So if you missed the beginning of it, not to worry, not a problem. We will make sure that you can have access to it in your back office within the next 24 hours. So Dr. G, thank you for taking your time out to be with us. Team, thank you for taking your time to be with us. And let's get healthy together in the science of living better.